Welcome to the podcast about venture capital, where investors and founders alike can learn how VCs make decisions and reach conviction. Your host is Nick Moran, and this is the Full Ratchet.
Welcome back to TFR for a special installment of Investor Stories. In this segment, the investors tell a story about some of the most odd and unusual situations they've ever encountered as investors. This is the segment called The Strange and Unusual. On today's special segment, we have Dayna Grayson and Rachel Holt of Construct Capital. Rachel and Dayna, what is the strangest, most unusual, or most memorable startup pitch you've received?
Well, I'll give you one. We actually did invest in the company, but we haven't announced it yet. But the entrepreneur, we were kind of pushing him on a number of questions, and took a step back and was like, gave us a video answer, not just of answering our questions, but giving a much broader perspective, really picking up on nuance of what we were, the advice and feedback we were giving throughout the process about saying, we want you to kind of really take ownership of this particular, it was a team of three, but the CEO really kind of needed to take more ownership. And so he gave us this great video of just like, let me tell you who I am. And started with just some, the kind of personal facts that you just lose in a Zoom context, particularly, and just really gave us this amazing kind of 360 view of who he was in a way that I think most of us would have felt super, we wouldn't have spent the time or effort or had the kind of confidence and wherewithal to just get in front of a camera and solo say, this is who I am. And this is why I'm going to be a great entrepreneur for you to back. And he won the day.
Amazing. Love it. On today's special segment, we have Ali Tamaseb of DCVC. Ali, what's the strangest, most unusual, or most memorable startup pitch you've received? I'm sure at DCVC you've heard some doozies.
I mean, there's a lot of very, very ambitious entrepreneurs that come and pitch to us. And some of them may even be deeper tech or more ambitious that I think venture capital can support. And you just wish that there was an entity, or there was, obviously there's government funding, but it requires billions and billions of dollars to solve them. But you see a bunch of companies that, it's such an ambitious thing that, how can we combat climate change, or how can we lower the cost of transportation with a very, very innovative technology that, would require just billions of dollars. So you look at the financial requirement of that company, and, the seed round would basically, until you have proof, until that thing gets to market, that requires, $500 million. That's not a venture backable company, but you wish there was some source of money for that type of companies. That's one end. And I think there's the other end of the companies that are, there's a lot of amazing companies that are, again, not venture backable because they will have small markets, or they're like very small opportunities compared to venture, but there should be a source of funding for those types of companies as well. And just because, the economics and math of venture capital works in a way that you need that one company to return your whole fund, you cannot make investments in those. But I wish there was, different new versions of capital available for those types of companies and founders, or just a smaller funds. I mean, we are a massive fund, which dictates what type of companies we can back. We are a $725 million fund, over $2 billion under management. So it just dictates that you're looking for, $5 billion plus exits in the companies that we back. And you see a bunch of companies that you're kind of confident this would be an amazing $300 million company that, it wouldn't move the needle for us. So we have to pass.
On today's special segment, we have Jonathan Hung of UVP. Jonathan, what's the strangest, most unusual, or most memorable startup pitch you've received?
I think about this like my first investment when I got into the game, and it was like, a good partner, a friend of mine, Buck Jordan, and like you would think like, what was I thinking? Like if I was a real like GP and my LP's like, that's how he thought about investing. But like it was first time we met, and he pitched me this idea. And I give 2 stories where it was just like it's a company called GIFT, GYFT, and it's mobile gift cards. And this is before Apple Pay. This is before, where 95% of the business was the actual digital card that you had. Like, but what if you lost that gift card? You would never see it again. Like you wouldn't have it wasn't stored on the cloud. So I just thought that was a great idea. I didn't know anything about it, and I agreed to give him like $25K on the spot. Our first meeting, he probably thought like, "What are you doing? Like, you don't want to hear more?" And then I was like, "Wow, well, yeah, I didn't." And like the funniest thing was like he called me like a week later. He's like, "By the way, A+ Investments, led by Ashton Kutcher, is also putting $1 million into this round. You want to put a little bit more?" I'm like, "Let's do it. Let's double up." And then 10 months later, GIF got bought by First Data. And we were just like, I look like, wow, this is easy. But that doesn't happen all the time. And like, I got lucky. I was able to roll that money into another company called Chow Now. And Chow Now has done tremendous since I invested back in like, oh gosh, I want to say 2014. But at the same time, Buck got me into another deal where it's just like, okay, well, it's just, we don't have a product. It's these, guys from Caltech, and they want to build a machine that makes hamburgers. Like, really? That's it? No pitch? Like, we're just raising a little money. Would you want to put in? It's called Miso Robotics. And, Miso has done some pretty good job. They've gotten a deal with White Castle now. They've been on like, a bunch of press. And yeah, but like I literally invested on the idea because I trusted Buck, because Buck was my friend and we've invested a lot over the years together. And it was just like, okay, let's take a chance. It was just like PhDs in the roboticist lab at Caltech. Wow. And they had no finished product. None whatsoever. It was just a prototype, not even a prototype. It was just an idea. Let's build it. Would you give us money to build something?
Crazy. Awesome. On today's special segment, we have Vanessa Larco of NEA. Vanessa, what's the strangest, most unusual, or most memorable startup pitch you've received?
Oh, wow. That's a hard one.
Over 1,000 pitches a year. I'm sure there's got to be some.
Well, I've funded the ones that are memorable, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, but we've all had the weird pitches, right?
Well, no, I did have at the very beginning. It was interesting. Look, being a woman in venture is not easy. Being like 5'2", also not easy. Looking like you're really too young to be in the role you're in is also a headwind. So there was one meeting where the founders, they're international founders, and they came in. It was me and an associate, this like tall, dark, handsome associate guy. And the founders brought like one printout of the deck. And they like came in and they gave it to him and they asked me to get them water. And I was like, this is not off to a good start.
Wow.
And so I explained to them like, well, and like.
At least they showed their hand early so you didn't have to spend too much time.
Well, at that point, and I was very new, right? So I'm like, what do I do now? And so I was like, all right, well, I'm going to get them water. And then when they realize that like I'm an investing partner, they're going to feel really bad. And I don't think I don't want to be like, excuse me, I want you to know who I am, right? So I was just like, I'm just going to let this play out and see at any point whether they address me or my partner on this at any point. And like they kind of never asked about us. They never, it was just so bizarre. It was so uncomfortable. And the poor colleague of mine was just like sweating, like he's just like mortified on behalf of the people. And I was just sitting there like, this is interesting. We'll just let this ride for 30 minutes. And
Clearly they did no homework, no background.
Yeah. You would be surprised how many times I'm on an email chain and they're like, investors to BCC, EAs, let's coordinate. And I get put on the EA line because, it happens a lot. So, be a little thoughtful.
Symptomatic of some problems in the industry for sure. That will conclude this installment of Investor Stories. If you're enjoying the program and would like to see it continue, take a moment and leave a 5-star review in iTunes. Also, if you'd like updates on new content from TFR, as well as the top 10 VC articles every week, go to fullratchet.net and sign up for the newsletter. Okay, that will wrap things up for today. Until next time, over-prepare, choose carefully, and invest confidently. Thanks for joining me.